Okay, so I'm going to try my best to explain something that I got passed to me, information. Um, what was the first thing to exist? Pre-human, we'll say. One of which was a flower, okay? And there's a whole saying, oh, you don't want to be a wallflower. You don't want to be in the background, nice to look at, but nobody notices, sort of thing. Not giving much meaning to it or anything. So I'll get back to the whole idea of flowers. So let's say before humans came around, energy is still energy, okay? So whatever happens, it's still in itself a lesson, even before we come along, okay? So let's say you got a flower like this, right? And then the very first human comes along and it's so beautiful. It smells pretty and it looks pretty, but they just kind of want to peel it apart before it's even ready. Now, every flower has a cycle, right? They go from seed and then they end up growing from the little seedling into a big, beautiful little bud and then a flower. And then they open up and then the process for pollinating and all that happens with the bees. And birds can carry seeds too, and then eventually they live a beautiful, happy life, and they have a purpose, and then their seeds carry on. Okay, I'll get to the point in a minute. Okay, so let's say before the process has even really finished. Let's say somebody plucks a flower before it's finished. And the sad part about a beautiful flower is that they are beautiful in themselves, but it is lonely until even the pollinating stage. It's a lonely sort of existence, and then eventually they go through a cycle and they wilt, and the process starts all over again. But let's say the process is interrupted and a human comes along and they just kind of peel back all the petals and stuff, not appreciating the flower in itself, not showing respect to it in any sense, and they just kind of, what the flower has to offer is just kind of picked apart. We'll put it that way. There's a lot of people in life, they're only seen as one thing, or they have a really good heart, and they're kind of like just picked apart, like they're nothing, till there's nothing left. And I think a lot of people go through that. A lot of people go through different stages of a flower even, and a lot of people do have so much more to offer than just looks or just smelling nice, and they get picked apart for it, which is unfortunate. Now, to get back to what I was saying, that energy in itself, the whole idea of a flower and it going through the cycle, that's something that's going to be continued. Now, let's say a flower had feelings, okay? And let's say that it was in itself, the process, very upsetting. Not only is it lonely, but to be picked apart like that, the amount of resentment a flower in itself would build up over time. No matter what it has to offer, it's not being acknowledged, it's just being picked apart and destroyed. That kind of resentment would build up, and it would be very upsetting, because it's almost like human beings now, those of us that have gifts and abilities, or we may have good looks or something too, but it exceeds far beyond that. A lot of them tend to get picked on and pulled apart just for their energy, just for their existence. And instead of being appreciated for what they have to offer, which most of the time is very valuable. Oh, I'm not going to say most of the time, all the time. is very valuable. What they can offer, what they bring to the table can help many, many people. And unfortunately, a lot of the times they get picked apart and just left there, or they get put in the background like a wallflower just to be ignored, seen and not heard, you know. And it's really, that kind of energy in itself is a lesson that most of us need to learn. We need to be able to learn how to stand on our own, how to be our pretty self, or valuable self, the seeds that we carry, the seeds that we can pass on, how to be able to stand in our own power and not worry about those that try to pick us apart, that try to determine how our cycle is going to go, if it's going to go at all, or those that try to interrupt or destroy other people. I didn't know how else other to explain this sort of energy, but let's say Gaia, Mother Gaia, even, you know, let's say all the grandmothers, mothers passed down, the energy itself to be that much in power, to have that much to offer, that much love and nurturing, and to be picked apart and not to be appreciated. There would be a sort of resentment that builds up. There would be that sense of not being acknowledged, that sense of not being appreciated for what you have to offer, that sense of not being seen for your full value, your full beauty, and just constantly being pulled apart by the people or energies around you that maybe even see your value but choose not to acknowledge it, or maybe they see your value and they want to destroy that because they don't see that within themselves. And it's a fucking hell of a process to have to stand on your own, even knowing it's going to be a lonely road in some circumstances. But those seeds are very, very important, and they're part of the cycle. And from myself all the way back, all my mother, my grandmother, and so on and so forth, great 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 grandmother, all the way back, I do appreciate everything that they did for me. Not for a second, even though I may have brought to the surface some not so pleasant things from my memory bank, some things that I wish to discuss to help other people get through. But it's not to say that I don't appreciate everything that they had to offer me. Everything that they did teach me, how to survive, how to take care of myself, how to mend myself. I come from a long line of healers. It's unfortunate that those healers allowed that sort of resentment to darken their heart to the point where they ended up hurting people instead of healing them. I chose a different path. I chose to go on my journey and to not do that to other people, to not purposely hurt them, to not purposely sabotage or set them up or use my words as knives against them. They made their choice. I had to separate for that reason, that they were unwilling to do the healing that I chose to do for myself. And it was hard. So I can understand why a lot of people don't choose to go down that route. It's painful. It's very painful, and it's very lonely, but it's important. It is a very, very important process, and it's part of the cycle too, of learning about ourselves and acknowledging what we have to offer and how beautiful we truly are from the inside out. To all my fem line, all the way back, mother, grandmother, great-grandmothers, all my ancestors in the female bloodlines, I truly appreciate what you've done to help us get here. Even if you weren't able to surpass certain moments or get past certain trials or tests, even if you weren't able to make it as far as you would have liked to, just know that me standing right here, right now, making this video and passing it along is me trying to do my part and acknowledging all that you've done for me. Despite any of the negative stuff, that does not mean that I've forgotten all the good things that you have done, and all the potential and all the strength and all the wisdom and knowledge that you've passed down to me, and everything you could have possibly done to help me move forward. Even if you tried to hurt me or hinder me, you still did me a favor for the things that you did teach me in good spirit, in good heart. You still helped me get to where I am right now. And if that's the acknowledgement that you were seeking, there it is. If that's what you wanted, to know that you're a part of this journey of mine, no matter how hard I struggled, even if you were a part of my struggle, just to hear it, I'm saying it right now. Thank you for what you've done. It does not excuse your current behavior or the decisions that you continue to make, but it is acknowledgement for the things that you did do out of the kindness of your heart, for the things that you did do when you weren't completely jaded and hurt, for the things that you did do before you turned. Thank you. All your efforts were not in vain.